Austin's housing boom has a lot of people looking to cash in by owning rental properties, but there are some changes in regulations if you want to lease your property. So Bart Sturzl, past president with the National Association of Residential Property Managers and Owners, is here to break it all down. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, I was surprised at how many rental properties we have.
Yes, about 51% of properties in Austin are rental properties. So that includes apartments, low-income housing, HUD housing, and people who own investment properties like single-family homes and rent them out because they couldn't sell them or wanted to keep them as investments.
There are some important things for you to know if you want to rent your home. You even talked about one that I don't think a lot of people think about, but when it comes to the locks on the doors.
Yes, keyless deadbolt. So most homeowners, when they own a home, they have a regular doorknob and a regular deadbolt that can be accessed with a key from the outside. But to rent a property, you have to have special locks, you have to have peepholes, you have to have keyless deadbolts. And what that is, it's another deadbolt on the inside, but there's no access from the outside of the door, so it protects the tenants from the owners and or property managers.
It's important to know these rules before you decide to rent out your property.
Well, absolutely, because if you don't do it correctly and something happens, you set yourself up for a lawsuit.
There are some new changes this year. I know the federal regulations have changed a little bit. What kinds of changes have we seen in that?
Well, HUD came out with a memorandum April 4th of last year in response to the Supreme Court's ruling on disparate impact. And basically what HUD said was criminal background checks need to be heavily looked at because there's a disparate impact on certain minority classes based on incarceration rates. And so what they said is, if you're looking at criminal background checks and you have blanket policies that say no criminals, no felons, that's going to be a violation now of fair housing. You have to look at the individual case, and they even recommend going back only a certain amount of time, for example, 7 years. If someone has lived cleanly and done correct for 7 years, you shouldn't hold their past against them on tenancy. Also, you have to ask them for mitigating circumstances. There could be a reason why the crime was committed, and just because they've committed a crime, it may be a crime that won't prohibit them from being a good tenant in a property.
Wow, important factors to consider.
Absolutely.
I know that with all the changes, we've even talked a little bit about what's changing in Austin with short-term rentals.
Right.
It's a lot for an individual to keep up with. How important is it to have somebody who's looking at some of these
It's very important because, you know, as a professional property manager, we have two goals. One is to maintain the asset, and the other is to reduce risk. And if you try to do this on your own and you're not familiar with city ordinances, state laws, fair housing, the protected 7 federal protected classes, you can set yourself up for a pretty substantial lawsuit if something bad were to happen. Professional property managers who are members of the Austin Board of Realtors, like myself, we do this for a living. I've been doing this for 22 years, and I keep up on all the federal housing and fair housing laws that are out there.
Is there a certain amount that you can expect to pay someone to help you manage a property like this?
It varies. Most property managers are percentage-based, and there's no set pricing. We can't price fix. That's a violation of real estate. But you could predict anywhere between a flat fee of as low as $45 to a percentage fee as high as 10%.
Important, though, to check those people out, too.
Absolutely.
Before you hire them.
Yeah, ask them for their credentials. Are they a professional property manager, or do they just dabble in it? And so it's important. There's a lot of aspects in real estate, and property management is a very litigious, specific specialty. And so you need to make sure you're hiring someone who does it for a living.
And for 51% of people who are renting, that's
correct.
Important, right?
That's right. And the tenants need protection, too. It's not just the landlord's side. So tenants need fair housing as well.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Great information.
You bet.